Hey, it's Mazzy, and this is Mazzy's mix number 32, and I just realized this is the first Mazzy's mix I've done all year. So just at the end of the month here, January 2023, the mix videos is where I show some records I picked up and some other bits and pieces, and just everything that doesn't fit anywhere else goes here. I need to do a little initial shout out of yet another unfortunate artist we lost this week, and an important, not he never made it to the heights of fame, but he's a very influential artist, and that is Tom Verlaine. He passed away, a guitar player in his 70s now. He was the original guitar player of the band Television, the New York band that grew out of the whole East Village music scene, CBGBs, around the time of the Talking Heads and Blondie and the Ramones, and a very influential, some people coined them as a guitar band because of this really amazing interplay between Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd in the band. Their first two albums on Elektra Records are Marquee Moon. The first two records are fantastic records, and anyone needs to get those. And his solo career is really wonderful. I didn't keep up with the CDs that came out over the last couple of decades, really, but he has that really kind of amazing reverb-drenched surfer kind of sound that I like. It comes right out of the twangy ventures into surf music and into when those I love that the bands in the 70s, the new wave, the post-punk bands, were picking up Fender Jazz Masters and Jaguars after they're sort of considered the unhip surfer guitar for years. And I think they were cheap as part of it. Elvis Costello also in the late 70s had his great brown Jazz Master guitar. But this is a good album. I think this is his solo debut on Warner Brothers in 1981. Was it Warner Brothers? Yeah, Warner Brothers Records in 1981. I picked up this for a lot of reasons. First of all, this is the first time I ever saw Television. I was at the show at the old Waldorf club that Bill Graham would end up producing shows. Incredible place for, unlike Winterland, that didn't have a lot of the new wave bands or the punk bands at the time. Very few exceptions. Sex Pistols being one of them. I think Elvis Costello, I saw his very first American show ever around this time at the old Waldorf as well. But this is 1978, and this was a pretty wonderful show too. But when this came out on Elektra Records Rhino, believe this might have been a record store day, but I mean, it's a good board recording and highly recommended. So Tom Verlaine, will miss that twangy, reverb-drenched sound. He was very much into jazz, very influenced by artists like Charlie Mingus, and others, and classical music as well. Now, some new records that I picked up this year. First, to lead into the first one, I want to show this first. This is from 2019. This is Enrique Montefusco. This, I believe, was his first or second solo album. I'd never heard of him until Dave out of North Carolina, Local Bandography. Actually, he's the vinyl ambassador now, turned me on to this. And it almost seems like something that Dave would not be into, but it's very catchy, heroic, very Spanish. He's from Barcelona. He was in a punk post-metalish band called Standstill. Never heard them. And this is such a dynamic record. And it's only available out of Spain, unfortunately. I think you can probably get the CD or this vinyl online. It's called Diagonal. But since then, his first album that just came out, I've been waiting for it. It came out last year, but finally in the last few weeks, it's been coming over as an import in this country. I pre-ordered it maybe half a year ago. And this is the record, again, all in Spanish. Now, I think this is more of a moody record. This is more of a folk neoclassical record. Some of his speaking, I think it's from a theatrical production that he wrote the score for. It's a double album. There he is, Enrique Montefusco. I got this copy and it's signed. I think it says in Spanish something to do with thank you for your patience. And it just literally arrived in the last couple weeks. And so I've been getting into it. It's not as dynamically up in your face like Diagonal, that other album I showed. So it takes more time getting into. I just saw that this is coming out at the end of February in this country. I don't know if it's being imported in, so you can check your local stores or your Amazons. And it is Enrique Monefusco, Viaje al centro de un idiota. The center of an idiot. I am an idiot. He's an idiot. Something about an idiot. But it's really a beautiful record. Acoustic guitars, a little more folk bass with some string quartet orchestration a little bit and some spoken word interludes here and there. But it's a gorgeous record, and I'm still devouring it and digesting it. I mean, this cover is like wanked out. I love this. It's almost like the primal. But it's funny that it looks so primal here, and it's such a low-key mood piece. But Enrique Monefusco from Barcelona, Spain. Fantastic music, fantastic voice. I mean, what a gorgeous voice this guy has. Next, it's the latest offering, reissue of unreleased, or at least unreleased commercially material from Charlie Maguire, the late Israeli guitar player, singer, who has a haunting folk-like rock and roll twangy guitar, reverb-drenched sound. They put out several records that are like just that. So he made this record that was originally a CDR in 2006. And this sounds like it could have been recorded in 1980, 82, because again, it has the reverb-drenched sound, but he's with this multi-instrumentist named Michael Kahan, this Israeli multi-instrumentalist, and this is Charlie Maguire and the Hefker Girl. That's the name of it, numero uno, number 914. This record really is like 25 years too late. The sound of Bauhaus and The Cure and the Joy Division. If you like that brooding, dark, pop, rock sound of those bands, this is for you. Again, it's not a high fidelity recording. It's very dark and dirge-like, but it has the beats like a Joy Division does, where there's sort of the dance beats. It just seems an interesting project to create in 2006, yet I still love it. Again, not high fidelity. Again, I think he put it out as a CDR to people, but it's got that moodiness. Yom Kippur on drums. Wow. Okay, Numerical Group. Cool record. The next record is finally the vinyl release of Wilco's Cruel Country. I hesitated. I resisted listening to the digital version last year, over 6 months ago. And I think they put out a CD as well on Record Store Day, like just without a cover, no cover art, the first Record Store Day. So it's been, 8, 9 months, whatever, been waiting for this. Now, I love Wilco. I'm not all in, knowing everything about Wilco, but I listened to this for the first time last week, and I've played it about 4 or 5 times now, and it is a stunner. It's beautifully recorded. It's got a really, again, the folk alt country sound, great songwriting. Twitty's vocals are sublime. I don't think he's ever sounded as good. Really well recorded record. And even though this came out last year digitally online, I tell you, I'm going to put this probably, unless 9 records or 10 records are better, this will be my top 10 in 2023. I'm including it this year. It's a cool cover design, cover jacket, and it comes with these wonderful kind of vintage postcards, perforated cards, and each one has the lyrics on the back. So it's kind of a nice little addition. Reminds me of the old days of vinyl. This is where vinyl shines over any other format, as far as I'm concerned, as you can see. Just a beautiful record, beautifully recorded, well pressed, really nice sound. Wilco, Cruel Country, finally on vinyl in 2023, and one of the best albums on my turntable as we speak. Really, really great record. Next, something I pre-ordered a while back is Vinyl Me Please's mono edition of Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde. Now, I'm not a VMP member. I'll buy things, a la carte when I like them, if they're available. I don't double up a lot, except for some artists, and Bob Dylan is one of them. And this is my number one, my favorite Dylan album. If you've seen my ranking, you know that already. But this is a mono version, all analog, cut by Ryan K. Smith. Probably the same cut, maybe in the vinyl mono box. Now, I don't usually do shootouts. I am going to. I'm just showing this right away because I have an original mono with the Claudia Cardinale photo that was taken off the original because she didn't give permission. Obviously, that's not there anymore. I do have stereo copies. I have MoFi copies. One record that I have multiple copies. And again, my favorite all-time Bob Dylan record. To me, this is magnificent. But I will say, right at the top, this is the best cover printing of any of them. This is an amazing printing. It's got the VMP badge on the back, which is fine. It's got this kind of, I'm not really a color vinyl maven, but it's got color elusive with a little brown tint vinyl. At least they kind of match something. And it's got this original illustration by Elio Morvero out of South Africa, Johannesburg. Look at that. That's really beautiful. It comes with it. So, the packages on these things are really nice. And again, I'm not all in on Vinyl Me Please, but they're really doing some interesting things and some really amazing jobs with their cover printing. Yes, it's the music, but having great artwork, to me, that's the other side of the coin of vinyl. So looking forward to this. I may or may not do a shootout here on the channel. I'm usually not that kind of channel, but when I know a record so much, I may do it. We'll see. Portland Pickups. I want to show some records that I picked up on this recent trip to Portland. I met up with Poetry on Plastic's Michael, who has a great channel, and I put my friend Mark, who hasn't done videos in a while, Vinyl Crush, and his lovely wife, Elise. And we went record digging, of course. Michael and I hit 5 record stores over about a day and a half. And here's some of the ones that I picked up, and then I'll show you the ones that Michael forced me to buy. And I have not listened to all these yet. The first one, I didn't realize this had been reissued, and I don't have it on vinyl. Murray Street by Sonic Youth. This is the first album by Sonic Youth that Jim O'Rourke became a full-fledged member. The daughter on the cover, that Thurston Moore's and Kim Gordon's daughter on this beautifully designed cover. This is a more accessible Sonic Youth. Obviously, it has the trappings, if you will, of the Sonics of Sonic Youth, but there's some songs that have some melodic guitar-based things happening on here. I really like this record. I know the music, just never had a vinyl copy. This was a used copy from 2015. This issue came out on Geffen Records, DGG Universal. So it was there, sitting fairly inexpensive in the new arrivals bin at Everyday Music, so I picked this record up. Sonic Youth, I like all their records for the most part. I think they're a really interesting band. Obviously, if you don't know them, some of their stuff is industrial-ish, electronic noise, guitars, screeching, feedbacks, experimental to a point. Now, these 2 records, I've never had these on vinyl, and these aren't necessarily hard to get, but I rarely find these in good shape that haven't been beat up. It must be all that, hippie incense pot stuff when people are listening to this kind of freak folk, English folk, twee folk from the UK. These are records produced by Joe Boy, the expatriate who worked with Nick Drake and Fairport Convention and, so many others, artists. Very much in that acoustic late 60s, early 70s folk sound in the UK. He produced the first Pink Floyd single. He was an American expatriate. He produced the very first big hit, the Maria Muldaur album, and he worked with Maria and Jeff Muldaur and that whole folk scene, but really a great producer. Again, his autobiography, Bicycle Something, is well worth reading. I love them. They have a twee sound, very light sound, hippie folk, lilting, is that the word? Music. And this is The Big Huge by the Incredible String Band on Elektra Records, and Changing Horses by the the Incredible String Band. You know, in that area of Lindisfarne, and there's so many bands in that that came around that time that I really like. I love that British folk rock, folky jazz. Even Pentangle has more on the jazz side sound. I'm a big fan of that. So those are the records I got on my own. Here's one more I'm a fan of the Louvin Brothers. I got into the Louvin Brothers because of Graham Parsons and the Byrds on Sweetheart of the Rodeo. They do it's one or two at least, Louvin Brothers. And of course, brotherly harmonies. They have a, you know, really great vocal sound. And obviously in the country and the bluegrass and the religious gospel sound. This is Thank God for My Christian Home. Never seen this record. And this is pristine shape, $8. The original Capitol Records, literally in pristine shape. This is a stereo version, new improved, full dimension stereo. But these records always sound great. And I just really enjoy these kind of harmonies, the acoustic guitars. So this was a pickup. This, you know, an easy thing. Anytime I see a Louvin Brothers record in good shape, I do pick it up. Light in the Attic has done a couple over the years. Unfortunately, I had a print of Louvin Brothers reissues. It's too bad they're not still available. I did pick up an early or a 1970 U.S. press, a clean version of Metal Machine Music. Now, a lot of people can't stand this record. I used to have it. I didn't get rid of it because I didn't like it. I got rid of it when I had my 95 Purge. But about 3 years ago, I was driving in Seattle, and I had, from the Lou Reed box set that came out, CD was on my iPhone. I transferred it, and I was playing this record while I was driving, and it grabbed me. I really enjoyed it while I was driving. You all know it, experimental, electronic, noisy. So I wanted a copy, and I just saw a copy in pretty good shape. It says there's one tick on it. I didn't really notice that much yet. And this kind of music, maybe it doesn't matter. But from Too Many Records in Portland, I got that. And the other one, it's a record I know, but I haven't had it in years also. And it's a pristine cut copy still of Chocolate City by Parliament, of course, produced by great George Clinton. And what a great record this is. This is a funky record. Just an incredible record. Poetry and Plastic forced me to buy, and I haven't listened to it. This is one I'd seen. I don't know why I never heard it, and this is a DJ copy, but it's Mandrake Memorial. It's a psychedelic thing from 1971 or 2, I believe. The record is called Poppy by the Mandrake Memorial. I like when someone turns me on to something, and Michael has turned me on to some things I've absolutely loved, and maybe one thing I haven't. So this one now, of course, he shows it. Every time you see this record, of course you think it's taken from the Nick Drake album cover, right? It's exactly Nick Drake down to the typeface, to the headline, to the everything. This is Boris. This is a Japanese, kind of like a heavy drone, psychedelic, intense, crazy guitars. And he played a bit on his phone in the store, and I kind of liked it. It's like manic stuff. So I haven't listened to this copy yet, but I picked this up because of Michael. He actually gave me this one again, another one. Are they from Texas? I'm not quite sure. This is The Caution Children and Don't Hate Me Because My Finger Is Touching the Record. They're forgiving. Records are forgiving. Unknown Lands, that's it. Okay. Thank you, Michael, for that. Haven't listened to that yet. He didn't tell me, but I know Yellow Matter Custard. I know Yellow Magic Orchestra, and I don't have any of their albums on vinyl. I have some CDs. And this was there, and they were talking about it, and I picked it up. So he didn't force me technically, but he put it out. It was sitting on the top of the stack there, and I since he wasn't going to get it. This looks like a 1979 Japanese issue too, so it's in really nice shape. Yellow Magic, Solid State Survivors. This is one I listened to. It's a dance, kind of a disco record. A Japanese artist, Junko Ohashi called Fluss. I listened to it. It's kind of a funky, soulful, disco-y record. It sounds really well recorded. Again, Michael's into Japanese city pop and a lot of Japanese music too, as well as other things. But so I went with it, and thank you, Michael. And the final record Michael Poetry turned me on to is Refused. This is a 1998 record, I believe, from the band Refused, the third album from the Swedish band. After this, they split up, and this record sort of became famous. It grew in stature over the years, cult status, and then more cult status. The Shape of Punk to Come, obviously, the influence of the concept and the title is from the Ornette Coleman, The Shape of Jazz to Come. But there are also other jazz influence. They're post-punk, hardcore punk band with some jazzy little things going on. Not really, but also the attitude of it, I think. And, they take some lines from Allen Ginsberg's Howl, sort of the beach, poet there. They take things from, as a Joseph Conrad's a book that influenced Apocalypse Now, that and Michael Hare about Colonel Kurtz's quotes from that book. Just interesting record, an intense record. They have a intense story that Michael turned me on to watch on YouTube. So I got the background of this album a little more, and it actually kind of helps knowing the background of something like this. One of these albums that, someone like me coming fresh into it, it's nice to know the genesis of it a little bit historically. Now, of course, it's about the music, but it's nice to know how and why and where they were at the time when they recorded this. That Joseph Conrad book is Heart of Darkness. Tip of my tongue, I always, it takes a while. But thank you, Michael, for turning me on to Refused. And that was part of the Portland package. 3 more records and then a song outro. What a great song. And some famous people and their records not handling very well. So people get all wonky about care of your records, which I take excellent care of my records. I'm starting to clean some of the old ones. Those who've been snooping around the old record cleaning videos here. But the music, right? But a couple things. First of all, this reissue series that came out, UMG, Verve, I think Third Man Records is doing it. This is the only one I've gotten so far. This is, now, I think these 3 sort of a overlapping sense, even though they're completely different artists. But this is James Brown's Soul on Top, and this is a very different album for him. He has Oliver Nelson conducting, Louis Bellson orchestra. Louis Bellson, this great, fantastic drummer, just band leader, drummer, just in your face, like soulful, funky big band sound. And you got, in a way, you got James Brown crooning with his soulful vocal sounds here. And so this is a cool record. James Brown's Soul on Top. I think the pressing's good. It's not the best pressing I've ever heard, but I love it. And it's got, the classics like September Song for Once in My Life. What Kind of Fool Am I? Your Cheating Heart, like a little country song by Hank Williams. But what a cool thing. Oliver Nelson, I'm in an Oliver Nelson mood right now from some of the OGCs that I've been hearing coming through. But again, in Portland, 2 more really clean records. And I try to, every time I see Sinatra records, I try to pick them up. But a lot of them are beat up or not in good shape. And these are the Reprise years, of course. Ring, ding, ding. Of course, anytime you got a guy in a hat like that, you have to get it. You have to pick it up, Reprise. And it is Reprise, not Reprise. Sinatra's custom label here. And of course, Look to Your Heart. So I think these last 3 have a certain kind of feel together. This one is on Capitol Records, and this is Reprise. So it's just 2 great Sinatra albums for the collection and a great friggin' James Brown record, which I never heard. So let's have it and let's cut it. And that's Mazzy's mix number 32. And now let's kick it out with a great Frank Sinatra song and some of those celebrities holding and playing their records. Mazzy loves you. Take care.
Hey there, cutes, put on your dancing boots and come dance with me. Come dance with me, what an evening for some terpsichore. Pretty face, I know a swinging place. Come on, dance with me. Romance with me on a crowded floor. And while the rhythm swings, what lovely things I'll be saying. 'Cause what is dancing but making love set to music playing when the band begins to leave the stand and folks start to roam. As we waltz home cheek to cheek we'll be. Come on, come on, come on, come on and dance with me. Hey there, cutes, put on your bassy boots and come dance with me. Come dance with me, what an evening for some terpsichore. Pretty face, I know a swinging place. Come on, dance with me. Romance with me on a crowded floor. And while the rhythm swings, what cuckoo things I'll be saying. For what is dancing but making love set to music playing when the band begins to leave the stand and folks start to roam. As we wing home cheek to cheek we'll be. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on and dance with me.